Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For many years, fans of Wheeler Dealers kept asking the same question: why did Edd China really leave the show? The official reason given was creative differences, but that explanation always felt too simple, too neat. There was no drama, no public argument, no scandal, just a quiet goodbye. Yet fans weren't satisfied. They felt like something was missing. After all, the chemistry between Edd and Mike Brewer seemed perfect. The show was successful, the viewership was strong, and both men looked like they were having a great time. So why would Edd suddenly walk away from a show he helped build? It didn't make sense. Now, 8 years later, Edd China has finally confirmed the real reason he left Wheeler Dealers, and it's deeper than anyone expected. In a recent interview, and through past statements, Edd opened up about the behind-the-scenes battles that led to his decision. It turns out the truth wasn't about money or fame. It was about something much more personal: creative integrity, and staying true to what the show originally stood for. When Wheeler Dealers first aired in 2003, it was a simple, no-frills British car show. It didn't try to be fancy or flashy. There were no explosions, no shouting, no over-the-top drama. Instead, the show focused on real cars, real repairs, and to men with a shared love for motoring. Mike Brewer, the enthusiastic Wheeler, would find old or beat-up cars with potential, and Edd China, the soft-spoken engineering expert, would bring them back to life. The repairs were shown in detail, with Edd walking viewers through every step, whether he was replacing a clutch or fixing a suspension. He made everything feel understandable, even for people who didn't know much about cars. This was the heart of the show: learning, doing, and respecting the process. The workshop was modest, the tools were sometimes older than the cars, and yet the results were impressive. Fans loved how honest it felt. There were no shortcuts, no staged arguments, just hard work and good storytelling. That raw, authentic style helped Wheeler Dealers stand out from the crowd and build a loyal fan base. As the show grew in popularity, it started airing in more countries and reaching millions of viewers. With success came bigger budgets and more interest from TV networks. While this was great in terms of fame, it also brought new challenges. Television executives, especially those in the US, started to see Wheeler Dealers as more than just a show. It became a brand, and with branding came expectations. Networks wanted faster episodes, more polished visuals, and content that could appeal to a wider audience. But that clashed with the original spirit of the show. Edd and Mike had built something unique by not chasing trends. They avoided product placements, stayed away from fake drama, and focused on the work. The idea was always to teach, not just entertain. But network executives wanted changes. They wanted quicker cuts, less time on repairs, and more time on personality and entertainment. Edd was not comfortable with this shift. He believed the workshop scenes were the most important part of the show. They weren't just filler, they were the soul of the series. And now, that soul was in danger of being lost out. By the time Wheeler Dealers entered its later seasons, the show had become a global hit. It was being aired in over 200 territories and seen by millions. But behind the scenes, things were getting tense. The episodes had to be edited to fit new formats for different countries. Repairs that once took up large chunks of the show were now being shortened or removed altogether. Instead of showing how a problem was solved, the show began skipping to the results. For longtime fans, the difference was clear. Edd's explanations became quicker, and some steps were skipped completely. Many viewers started to notice and took to social media to ask, why is Edd barely in this episode? Why aren't they showing the repairs anymore? Is the show being Americanized? The truth was, Edd was pushing back behind the scenes. He wanted to protect the detailed repair segments. He felt responsible to the audience who came to the show to learn, not just watch. But as more decisions were being made by executives, Edd's influence started to fade. He tried to adapt, to work with a new format, but it was becoming clear that the show was changing direction away from the kind of content he believed in. The real turning point came when Discovery Channel decided to move the production from the UK to the United States. They handed control over to their American partner, Velocity Channel. This move brought major changes. The cozy British garage that fans loved was replaced with a shiny new studio in California. The goal was to modernize the show and make it more marketable. But in doing so, the heart of Wheeler Dealers was slowly stripped away. In his 2017 farewell video, Edd China explained that the new producers found it difficult to film his detailed repair segments. They wanted him to simplify the process, to cut down the time spent on each repair and focus more on entertainment. This didn't sit right with him. Edd believed that if you were going to show a car being fixed, you had to show it properly, with all the important steps. Skipping those parts, in his mind, would be dishonest. He said, "That's not something I'm particularly comfortable with." It wasn't just a difference in opinion, it was a clear fork in the road. Edd could either stay and compromise, or leave and stay true to himself. Even before Edd made his public announcement, there was already a quiet battle going on. It wasn't about fame or money, it was about principles. E.T. wanted to keep the workshop segments detailed and educational, while the new producers wanted to make the show quicker and more flashy. In today's fast-paced TV world, many producers believe that viewers don't have the patience for long technical scenes. They prefer snappy edits and catchy music, but E.T. saw it differently. He believed viewers deserved more credit. He believed they watched Wheeler Dealers because they wanted to learn, to understand, and to appreciate the process of bringing an old car back to life. This difference in philosophy became too big to ignore. E.T. didn't want to become just another face in a car show that prioritized style over substance. He didn't want to bodge the work, as he put it. To him, cutting corners would be dishonest, not just to the viewers, but to himself. So he made the hard choice to leave the show he had helped build, rather than stay and become part of something he no longer believed in. Brewer for years, Mike had been the charismatic frontman of Wheeler Dealers, found the deals, talked the talk, and kept the energy up, but in the wake of Ed's exit, fans began to question his role in the breakup. Was he complicit in the creative changes? Did he back the new production direction? Could he have fought harder to keep Ed on board? Social media turned volatile. Brewer's Twitter feed became a battlefield. Some accused him of selling out, others outright attacked him, sending hate mail, and even the tone was ugly and deep. Personal Mike, blindsided by the intensity of the backlash, posted a few public responses. He insisted he had no role in forcing Ed out. In fact, heckled he was gutted by Ed's decision, stating that they'd built something and that Ed was like a brother to him. He said the format shift wasn't his doing, it was the network's. Ed, to his credit, tried to douse the flames. In a follow-up message, he explicitly asked Ed fans not to blame or harass Mike. He said it was a network issue, not a personnel feud, but by then the narrative had taken on a life of its own. Even mainstream media had picked up on the tension. Headlines like Wheeler Dealers in turmoil, and fans reveled over Edd China's exit dominated daughter news cycles, Reddit threads. Every word of Ed's farewell. YouTube was flooded with reaction videos, conspiracy theories, and editorials. The new version of the show, no co-hosted by Ant Anstead, continued with, but it wasn't the same. Viewer sentiment was fractured. Some stayed loyal to others followed Ed to whatever he would do next. And in the middle of all this chaos was a silent truth. Some thinkinable had been lost, not just a presenter, but the trust that made the show beloved in the first place. The rumored rift, did Ed and Mike fall out even after the dust settled? One question never really went away. Did Edd and Mike fall out behind the scenes? Both of them time and again have publicly donated it in interviews and social posts. They've insisted there was no personnel feud, no blowout, no betrayal, just a difference of vision, one that couldn't be reconciled. And maybe that's true, but fans couldn't help noticing the gap. Since 2017, the two men have had zero public collaborations, no surprise podcast reunions, no friendly Instagram banter, no car show panels side by side. By in an industry where even bitter ex-collaborators occasionally reunite for PR or nostalgia, their total silence editor has been conspicuous. People aren't wrong to wonder. After all, theirs wasn't just a working relationship, it was a partnership that spanned 13 years. If it truly ended amicably, why the cold freeze? Some fans point to interview share Mike's language seemed offensive. Others note how Ed's tone has grown more diplomatic, more cautious. When asked about Mike directly, it's not what's being said, it's what is not being said. The long pauses, careful wording, the respectful but distant phrasing, it's enough to make you think maybe there wasn't a dramatic falling out, but maybe there was a growing emotional and creative distance, the kind that doesn't explode in arguments but simmers in silence. Wait for the case. The lack of reconciliation became part of the story, an open-ended chapter that left fans guessing, and that's what made what next 8 years later so powerful, because finally, after all speculation, Edd China spoke, and this time didn't just walk away quietly. The confirmation Ed finally speaks after 8 years. It took 8 years of silent speculation and fan theories before Edd China finally opened up about the real reason for his departure from the show, not in a dramatic expose or a bathing tale, all but in the most Ed way possible, calmly, precisely, and without an theatrics. In a recent podcast appearance, Ed reflected on the arc of Wheeler Dealers and for the first time clearly confirmed why he left. There was no coded language or corporate entities, just a man finally speaking his truth. He talked about what it meant to build something from scratch, to take a shoestring show with a few lights and a couple of rusty classics and turned into a global. On March 21, 2017, Edd China uploaded a simple YouTube video. It was under 10 minutes long, filmed in his garage, and delivered in his calm, friendly style. But the message was huge. He was leaving Wheeler Dealers. There were no angry rants, no attacks on Mike Brewer or the network. Edd explained his reasons clearly and respectfully. He said that the new production team wanted to reduce the workshop content, and that wasn't something he could support. He told viewers, "That just wouldn't be fair to you guys." Fans immediately understood what he meant. They had watched the show change and had missed the old format. Edd's video went viral, gaining millions of views in just a few days. The comments poured in, thousands of them. Fans were heartbroken, confused, and angry. Many felt like they were losing a friend. Others felt betrayed by the network. But one thing was clear, the majority stood with Edd. His quiet honesty and loyalty to the original spirit of the show won him even more respect. People appreciated that he walked away, not because he had to, but because he wouldn't compromise his values. After Etta's exit, Wheeler Dealers continued, with a new mechanic, Aunt Anstead, and kept airing in its Americanized format, but many longtime fans said the show never felt the same. The magic of those early episodes, the mix of learning, personality, and craftsmanship was missing. E.T. went on to start his own YouTube projects, where he kept doing what he loved, working on cars and teaching people how to fix them. His new content may not have had the big production budget, but it kept the heart and soul that made Wheeler Dealers special in the first place. In many ways, his decision to leave was a powerful message. It showed that staying true to your principles matters, even when it means walking away from fame and success. Today, Edd China remains one of the most respected figures in the automotive world, not because he was on TV, but because of how he left it quietly, respectfully, and with integrity. And after 8 years, fans finally have the full picture of why he walked away. It wasn't a dramatic scandal, it was something far more important. The desire to stay honest in a world that often values shortcuts over substance. After stepping away from Wheeler Dealers, many people wondered what Edd China would do next. Would he disappear from the public eye? Would he join another TV show? For a while, he kept a relatively low profile, but it was clear he wasn't done with cars or was sharing his passion for them. Edd returned to his roots by launching his own projects on YouTube, where he had full control over the content. His goal was the same as it had always been: to teach, inspire, and keep the joy of hands-on car work alive. He introduced a series called Edd China's Garage Revival, where he visited owners of classic vehicles and helped them finish long-forgotten restoration projects. It wasn't backed by a big network, and the budget wasn't huge, but it felt authentic. Just like the early days of Wheeler Dealers, it focused on real repairs, real people, and real emotion. For fans who missed the old Edd, it was exactly what they needed. More than just a mechanic, Edd had become a symbol of integrity in a world full of shortcuts and entertainment-first mindsets. His new content proved that there was still a hunger for honest, technical storytelling even in a YouTube world driven by fast views and clickbait. When Edd left the show, many fans feared that Wheeler Dealers would lose its identity. To keep things moving, the producers brought in a new mechanic, Aunt Anstead. Aunt was talented, experienced, and had a friendly on-screen presence. He did a good job of continuing the technical work, and many viewers appreciated his approach. However, the tone of the show had definitely changed. With its new California setting and faster pacing, Wheeler Dealers started to feel like a different kind of series. The heart and soul that once made it special, the deep dives into mechanical work, weren't as prominent. While Aunt did explain repairs, the segments were often quicker, edited for speed, and designed to fit tighter commercial time slots. Mike Brewer continued to lead the buying and selling, and he tried hard to maintain the same chemistry. But for many fans, it wasn't just about the personalities, it was about the philosophy of the show. They missed the long, quiet scenes where Edd patiently explained how a gearbox worked or why a particular repair mattered. The change in format, location, and tone made the show feel less like an educational journey and more like typical reality TV. The numbers may have remained steady, but the soul had shifted. One of the most powerful outcomes of Edd China's departure was the loyalty it inspired. Fans didn't just miss him, they actively supported him. His YouTube videos gained millions of views. His social media following grew, and fans often voiced their continued disappointment in the direction Wheeler Dealers had taken. What made Edd's story so impactful was not just that he left, but why he left. In a time when many people chase fame, success, and money, juggernaut, but then came the admission: hadn't wanted to leave. Not really what drove him away wasn't a clash of egos or a desire for change. It was the creeping realization that the show of once loved had changed into something could no longer stand behind the most-haunting part. He confessed to disliking version of himself he had become during those final seasons. I truly hated him, he said in a heavy voice. He was someone I didn't recognize in him, not because of fame or burnout, but because he was being pushed to cut corners, gloss over the gritty stuff, and become something smoother, faster, easier to digest. He still didn't call anyone out specifically, he didn't need to. The message was crystal clear. The production show no longer saw Wheeler Dealers as a hands-on educational series. They saw it as a content engine, and Edd was expected to fall in line. That's when it clicked. It wasn't about adapting, it was about comprising. And that for Edd China waistline in Thizan, the podcast clip caught fire. Online fans who had followed the saga from the beginning finally had closure, not a cryptic goodbye, but a direct confirmation of what they'd always expected. It was never just creative adherences, it was a matter of principle and character. The debates roared back, live forums reignited, new fans discovered the story, and old fans finally felt vindicated because after all this time, Edd China had finally said it. He didn't walk away because he wanted dough, he walked away because he had to reinvention. What Edd did next, it walked away because he refused to compromise on what he believed in. That kind of decision is rare, especially in the entertainment world. For fans, it was more than just a TV decision, it was a life lesson. They admired his honesty, his quiet strength, and his refusal to budget, even if that meant giving up a platform that reached millions. He didn't attack anyone, didn't create drama, and didn't blame others. Instead, he explained his side with calm clarity, and in doing so, he won the respect of people all over the world. That loyalty hasn't faded over time. In fact, it has grown stronger. To this day, many fans say they only watched Wheeler Dealers because of E.T., and once he left, so did their interest. The story of Edd China and Wheeler Dealers is about more than cars. It's a reflection of how modern television works. When Wheeler Dealers began, it was small, personal, and full of character. But as it grew, the pressures of the industry began to take over. Networks wanted to make the show faster, flashier, and more marketable. They wanted something that could be sold worldwide and fit into any time slot. To do that, they needed to change the format, shorten the scenes, and focus more on personality than process. E.T., however, represented the opposite. He stood for craftsmanship, patience, and the idea that the journey was just as important as the result. In the fast-moving world of media, where attention spans are short and content is created to go viral, E.T.'s approach may seem old-fashioned, but that's exactly why it matters. His story reminds us that not everything needs to be sped up, simplified, or turned into entertainment. Sometimes people just want to learn to understand how things work, and to feel connected to a process that's thoughtful and real. That's what E.T. offered, and that's why his decision to leave made such a big impact. It was a stand against the loss of substance in a world full of surface. Today, Wheeler Dealers continues with new episodes, new locations, and new mechanics. The show still has its fans, and Mike Brewer remains a central figure. But for many, it will always be remembered best during the years when Edd China was part of it. Those early seasons captured something rare in television: honesty, heart, and a genuine love for the subject. E.T. wasn't just a mechanic, he was a teacher, a guide, and a friendly face who made even complex repairs feel easy to understand. His legacy goes beyond the show. It lives on in the fans who still rewatch old episodes, in the DIY car enthusiasts who learned from him, and in the creators who now make their own repair videos with the same spirit. Whether or not he ever returns to TV, E.T. has already made his mark. He proved that you can succeed without selling out, that you can walk away when something no longer feels right, and that doing things the right way still matters even when it's the hard way. That's a legacy any craftsman would be proud of. And it's one that ensures Edd China's name will always be remembered, not just as the man from Wheeler Dealers, but as the man who stayed true to what mattered most. Edd China's decision to walk away from Wheeler Dealers didn't just affect the show, it sparked a larger conversation about the way content is created and consumed. Fans began asking deeper questions. Why are so many shows changing their formats? Why do networks often ignore what the audience loves most? And more importantly, why do creators like E.T., who stand for authenticity and quality, have to fight so hard just to do things the right way? The answers to these questions point to a growing divide between viewers and entertainment companies. On one side, audiences crave real stories, clear information, and genuine effort. On the other, companies often prioritize profit, speed, and trends. E.T.'s departure highlighted this divide in a powerful way. He became a symbol not just of technical skill, but of artistic honesty. People respected him because he didn't just follow orders. He stood up for what he believed made the show meaningful. That moment gave fans a sense of control. They realized their opinions mattered, and they had the power to support the kind of content they truly valued. In many ways, E.T. didn't just leave a TV show, he helped start a movement focused on creator integrity and audience respect. In a world where many public figures change their message or style based on popularity or paycheck, Edd China has remained consistent. Whether you watch his old Wheeler Dealers episodes, his YouTube garage content, or listen to his interviews, one thing stands out: he's always himself. Calm, thoughtful, and focused on the details. That kind of consistency builds trust. Fans know that when E.T. says something, it's not to sell a product or follow a trend, it's what he truly believes. Over time, that trust becomes stronger than any brand or show. It becomes personal. Many fans feel like they know E.T. even if they've never met him. That's because he invited them into his world and treated them with respect. He didn't dumb things down. He didn't talk over people's heads. He taught in a way that felt natural and honest. That approach created a bond that survived even after he left the spotlight of television. This kind of trust is rare, and it's one reason why E.T.'s name still means so much to people around the world. It's also a reminder to other creators and influencers. If you build your message on truth and respect, your audience will stick with you no matter where you go next.